willing to bet that most of you, if not all of you, heard about the Golden Rule at some point while growing up. And what does the Golden Rule teach us? I think you're more nervous than I am. Right? That's right. It teaches us to treat others the way we want to be treated. And like many of you, I learned this rule at a very young age. For children, it's a great introduction to the idea of managing conflict and developing relationships. But what about for adults? How can the Golden Rule help us with our most important relationships? How can the Golden Rule help us manage all of those relationship pitfalls and tiptoe around all of those relationship landmines? Well, we're going to get to the answer, but first, let's go all the way back to the beginning. The first version of the Golden Rule appears around 1640 BC in ancient Egypt and is attributed to the goddess Ma'at, who said, "Do to the doer to make him do." Now, fast forward to modern day, and we can see that the Golden Rule is not only recognized all over the world, but it's taught by many different faiths all over the world. The version that you and I are probably the most familiar with is going to be the Christian version, which teaches us to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But did you know that Islam teaches us to wish for others what you wish for yourself? And Judaism teaches us that what you find hateful, don't do to your neighbor. All over the world, so many different faiths, from Buddhism to Hinduism to Confucianism, even the Wiccans teach some form of the Golden Rule. Because it's so widespread, it's easy for us to see how it continues to be the standard we use to teach our children how to treat others. And I do believe that most of us at least try to follow the rule to the best of our abilities. But if this is true, it's being taught all over the world, and we at least try to adhere to it, why is it so difficult for us to maintain successful long-term relationships? What are we doing wrong? I'm going to tell you, it's really not our fault. It's actually the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule is terrible relationship advice. It is. It's the worst relationship advice like ever. Yeah, I'm just going to put that right out there. Why? It boils down to complexity and perception. We have to remember that when we are speaking to another individual, they're just that. They're a different person. We have to remember that they have different ideas, different feelings, different thoughts. When I'm talking about our significant others and how to treat them, I'm really talking about our spouses, our best friends, our boyfriends, our girlfriends, our immediate family members, the people with whom we need to remain happy and healthy in order to have long-term successful relationships. But instead, we're thinking about ourselves. And to confirm this idea, I did a highly scientific study, and by highly scientific, I mean I asked a bunch of my Facebook friends to just explain in their own words what they think about the Golden Rule. I'm going to share with you some of those examples. The first example, it means I want to be understood by you, so in turn, I will make effort to understand you. I call this one the lead by example concept. I'm going to model for you the behavior I want from you. Example 2, think about what you want from the universe and give that energy to it. I call this one the make-a-wish, make-it-happen concept. I'm going to think about what I want, and I'm going to will it to happen. And then example 3, in order to get your way, you must coerce others into believing that your intentions have them at center focus. I call that one the politician's creed. And my favorite example, yeah, who hasn't felt that way, right? All joking aside, these examples do they do represent exactly what is wrong with our relationships. We're focusing on ourselves. We're not thinking about the other person. We do have to remember that they are an individual just like we are. So what do we need to do? I would like for you to consider an alternative, an updated version, a golden rule 2.0, if you will. It's going to be to treat others the way they want to be treated. It completely changes your mindset from thinking about yourself to putting yourself in the back seat. And it forces you to think about the other. What are their wants? What are their ideas? What are their dreams? What are their likes and their dislikes? If you're going to be in a successful long-term relationships, it cannot always be about you. It just can't be. And I'm going to give you a personal example. My husband and I celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary this past May. And he is what I call a flaming extrovert. The man knows no stranger. He loves to be around people, and he needs to be around people. That's how he recharges his batteries. Whereas I'm the queen of introverts. I'm the exact opposite. I find people to be utterly exhausting, to be honest with you. I need to go back into my cave to recharge my batteries. So when you're married to your polar opposite, the golden rule 2.0 is key. If I were to treat him the way I wanted to be treated and vice versa, our marriage would not have lasted through the first year. So what's a married introvert to do, especially when she's married to the extrovert? Well, over the years, we've had to learn not only to acknowledge each other's differences, but to accept those differences and to compromise. So I will hang out, I'll be social, and I'll do that for an acceptable amount of time. And then when I'm done, I go back into my cave, and he's not allowed to complain about it or give me any grief. And it makes both of us happy. He's happy, and I'm happy. You see, just because you're in a committed relationship, it does not mean that you have to give up your own identity. But just like any good dance partner, you got to pay attention to the other person, or else you're just going to keep stepping on each other's toes. And if you do that enough, you're going to have to find a new dance partner. Nobody wants to do that. So I would like for you to take a moment to think about your significant others, the people who are most important to you. What are their likes and dislikes, their wants, their needs? Do they like dark chocolate or milk chocolate? Do they like surprises, or do they like to plan things out? Do they like mushy, sappy, emotional holiday cards, or do they like the funny, raunchy ones? Do they like to text, or do they prefer to call because they like to hear your voice? Are you treating them the way they want to be treated? In closing, don't get me wrong. The golden rule is a wonderful rule, and I do think that we need to continue teaching that rule to our children. After all, it's a great way for us to teach them about empathy and to get them to understand the importance of being able to just get along with other people. And also, it's a relief to know that it is still being taught all over the world by many different faiths, from age 1 on up. But you and I also know that as we grow older, we become more complex individuals, and our relationships become more complex. So we need a rule that is a reflection of that complexity. So let's do something different. Let's stop treating others the way we want to be treated, and let's start treating others the way they want to be treated. Thank you.